life as the
Squirrel.
Sorry, I had to pause it. I'm trying to use my phone and the computer so I can talk to everybody.
You ain't smart enough to be doing two things at once like that. Calm it down.
I'm not. Let me tell you what I actually did whenever we done Larry's the other night. I was trying to comment and I was like, I don't know why the crap I can't comment. I'm so used to doing it on here, it didn't even dawn on me that I'd have to do it from my phone.
Yeah. I jumped off there and got in the chat and everything. It's way more comfortable being in the chat than being on one of these shows. But anyway, hello everybody. How is everyone doing? Everybody in chat and everything. Oh, Cashew is on here. Hello. Billy, how you doing?
Bama.
Bam. Bam bam. Well, anyway, hello to everybody that's in the chat. And we had a couple weeks off, first for Easter, and then because we were all of us were supposed to go to Kentucky on an outing. I didn't make it, but everybody else did. And we have a whole lot of them on here to talk about what happened. But before we get into that, Squirrel. Also, I hope everybody had a great Easter and everything. Let's not forget that. But Squirrel, how was your first time being down there in that spot? What'd you think of it?
I liked it. Oh my gosh, it is so freaking pretty. I mean, there's just overhangs, the creek beds everywhere. It was awesome. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful place. It's not as mountainous, I guess, as I thought it would be because of the way it is around here. But I loved it. And it got kind of exciting on the last night after all the other campground areas started clearing out.
Is it just me, or whenever you first pull in there for the first time, you look around and you're like, man, this looks like a boogery spot. Like you can, in your head, you're just like, yeah, this looks like the right kind of area right there.
For sure.
How long of a drive was it for you?
I think it took us about 3 hours.
And
it wasn't too bad.
And then you didn't have phone service for what?
Man,
an hour
out? Phone service early, like hour and a half before we even got there.
Yeah, it's way back in there. Yeah. Well, we might as well bring other people on, and I'm probably, since I wasn't there, I'm going to listen like everybody else, and we got enough people to fill it all up.
You were missed so much, by the way, just so you know. I know we give you a lot of shit all the time, but I'm telling you, we really, really hated that you and Anthony didn't get to make it. I mean,
I appreciate it. We hated it also. We did end up ultimately going camping on Saturday night right here, only like 30 minutes away, and we didn't have anything happen, but I was so pissed off by not being able to be down there. I was like, we got to go. I got to leave. I got to go camping. I had all this. Anthony bought an entire brisket. I forget what they call it. Where it's got the flat and the point on it. It was like $75. Big old brisket. We were going to do that for everybody. I bought spiral hams. I was going to do that for everybody. Whole chickens. We were loaded, ready to go. I was trying to compete with Greg and all of his deer recipes he was going to cook. But anyway.
Speaking of, right quick, I got to tell you, I actually tried the deer meat. I tried the tenderloin that he had all breaded up and the stew, and I smelt that cooking, and I knew he was making deer meat. First thing in my head, I thought, this is going to taste just like every other piece of deer I've ever eaten. It was awesome. He really done such a good job. I mean, I liked both of it. It was really, really good. That is the only person I've ever ate that's made deer meat that I can say that about. And kudos to him.
I don't know who's been cooking deer for you, but if you don't like
several, and
if you don't like venison, they're doing something wrong. Anyway, everybody, I'm going to jump backstage and let all the other people out, and we'll see what kind of a train wreck this turns into, because Mitch will be running the show. Here we go. There are other seasoned
Damn,
hosts. There are other seasoned hosts on this show. I expect somebody to keep Squirrel in line. All right.
Yeah. Good luck. Hey, we got free run now, y'all.
Hey, Mr. Jim.
Hey,
Y'all.
there's
Where'd
our buddy.
Sherry go?
Hell, this is like the Brady Bunch.
That's right. I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I was trying to get a sandwich. I'm hungry.
You can't go nowhere. Oh gosh. All right, so somebody start telling us about their weekend trip. Mark.
Sherry, why don't you tell us your first impressions of driving in there?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was real pretty, but it did feel kind of boogery, and but the place was just wonderful. We both liked it. Real remote, more remote so than like Land Between the Lakes. Really, I thought you didn't see as many people. What do you think?
You too, Jim. This is your first trip. You kind of felt a little weird at some time, didn't you?
No, I didn't feel weird, but I
Heard something?
enjoyed it. But
I know he liked Greg.
something a little unusual. Don't put me saying it's a booger, but I did see some tracks and stuff, and I've seen one set of tracks at about 16 inches, and that's pretty big.
So what day did y'all must have saw the tracks? It was the day after we left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard some stuff going on like up in the morning, like 4 or 5 o'clock that morning on like going into Monday morning.
Yeah.
It wasn't but like 4 of us there. The whole campground area had pretty much cleared out except for what little bit of our group that stayed.
Yeah.
It
Well,
got a little weird that night, and the next morning is when we started seeing tracks.
Missy and I've been going through the recorders, and we had a whole lot more activity than we realized when we started going through those. We're not done yet, though.
Yeah. No, they got left on for hours and hours. So
which I figured, I mean, that campground, y'all, I mean, it was full, and I figured that's if something was going to happen in the campground was after us leaving, I figured there was a bunch more than us was going to have to leave on Sunday like we did. And that's what I wondered, when we left, if y'all was going to have something go on.
yeah, when it started getting a little quieter, just like Larry was saying, we had a Yahoo sitting and hollering all day, all night. I mean, I don't know how in the world he kept going as long as
Well,
he
I don't either.
Meth is a spectacular thing.
did. I like my teeth too much.
No doubt. Yeah, he probably gonna have here in a couple of years have that jack-o'-lantern smile. He'll have about 2 or 3 teeth. Yeah, candy corn teeth. It'd be long, like a little triangle, dangling. Boy, when he has a birthday, because you look and there'd be like 3 teeth gone where he blew his candles and his teeth come out.
Greg, you and Mark Green, this was Jens's first trip up too, wasn't it?
It was, man, that was pretty golly.
How long did it take you?
That's the woods there look a whole lot like they do here, except their mountains is about twice as high as what ours are, which we got some pretty good canyons, hills, and hollers here. But and it reminds me a lot of here. Now that was a pretty place where we were at that particular campground. It was nice. Now it would have been better on me, at 8 o'clock that Saturday morning when Captain Moron over there, I was fixing to promote him to General Moron because he was over there with a stupid gas-powered leaf blower blowing leaves out of the campsite and off his table. And it's like, dude, you in the middle of nowhere, nice and peaceful, and we romped on a dang gas-powered leaf blower blowing leaves. I started to walk over there, and I stopped, and I walked back, and they kept going. I thought, I'm going to go say something. And then I stopped again, and then I started back. And the third time I started over, I thought, yep, man, I'm fixing to have a chat. But he finally cut it off, and I'm thinking, I'm in Kentucky. I don't know anybody to get out of jail. I probably don't need to go nowhere. So yeah.
You know what's so bad is we listened to that guy yelling and hollering all day and all night, and after he finally quit the next day, they come in. There hadn't been anybody running anything. This dude started a generator as soon as they got there. I don't think ever turned it off. And like you said, got up the very next morning with a leaf blower going.
You know, that's was it. Now wait a minute, was it Friday night or Saturday night, Larry, when it wasn't going? In about 11 o'clock, ring, ding, ding, he fires it off, and it's
Saturday night. Yeah.
It's like, my God. The time we don't need it on, run it till then. Everybody else wants it quiet, but no, he waited till then to crank it up.
Yeah, and he was going to bed. It ain't like he needed a heater. He didn't need the air conditioner, but he decided he wanted to run it.
What are you trying to say, Rusty?
The bad thing, he was a young guy too. They was like in their 20s. So,
yeah,
I mean,
he's one of them snowflakes. He's ready to melt.
Yeah. Rusty, you'll have to tune into her OnlyFans page.
Oh, no. Do not even look. Y'all are wasting your time. I promise you.
Hey, she ain't got one of them. She ain't got no coupons yet.
Coupons. Oh, gosh.
But no, we had a great time around the fire. That was. I mean, y'all, I went up there. That's what I went. Fellowship, hang out with everybody. We got set around, and y'all got one of my new friends right there, Mr. Jim. Man, me and Al and my son Colt, Larry, and Mr. Jim. We got set around the fire. Shoot, we got to talk about all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm talking about. We just talked about life.
What'd you say about him, Jim?
About who?
About Greg.
I said he was running a close race to Jerry Clark.
I told you, I hate I didn't get to come on the show last Thursday, and I got to watch it late that night. Man, that floored me. I got that compliment from Mr. Jim, and I thought that's the best compliment I've probably ever had in my life from anybody. I appreciate that. But, hey, look, my buddy's been trying to get me to do stand-up for years. I have to sugarcoat it on here. But now they got to see me in person around the fire. And I was a little dubious around everybody. I kind of held back a little bit. But next trip, we might have to really turn it loose.
The funny thing is most people don't know who that even is.
You're right. It's sad.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I grew up on that fire.
Mark Green, what about you? How far did you and Rebecca have to come?
it was about 5.5 hours. Now, time we stopped several times and all that, it took a little longer. It's about 5.5, and that's me just running at a normal speed, not trying to, get there in a hurry. It wasn't bad, and it's a good drive. It was beautiful, pretty much all the way up. The only time I had to get on the interstate was in Alabama for a little piece, and right there in Tennessee for 10 or 15 miles, and I was on 2-lane roads coming through little bitty towns. So it was real pretty. And
yeah, it's always nice to go through different towns that you ain't never been through before and take the back roads, ain't it?
Yeah, and that right as you get pretty close, I'm just like everybody else. I told Rebecca, I said, this is a boogerish place in here. It's boogers.
It sure felt like it.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Oh, yeah, we really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the fellowship and getting to meet people that we've just been seeing on the screen and finally get to meet them in person. And we had a good time. And but Rebecca definitely told me we got to buy a camper. She has hounded me about that since Saturday. So I guess we'll be looking for a small camper. So
I have one for sale. I have one for sale.
Yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, we may have to talk some on that. But yeah, our tent went to leaking on a Saturday night or early Sunday morning when that rain come through, and we didn't know it till I rolled off the air mattress into the water. I said, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, we probably need to get a tent. So a camper.
I hate that.
Hey, Mark.
We still had a good time. Enjoyed everybody.
I'm glad
I do have a bone pick with Spencer. He told me, because I asked about food. I said, hey, we're gonna do any potlucks or anything like that. And he said, no, I think it's going to be everybody for the sale. So I was going to bring rabbit and cook y'all some rabbit. So y'all can blame that on me, Spencer. I know he'll get on to me here in just a minute.
Yes, I like rabbit.
That's right. Yes.
No, I'm just playing. Y'all, but we had a real good time, and excuse me, we look forward to next time. And me and her enjoyed riding those roads, looking at stuff, and learned the layout of the land a little bit. So it's a beautiful place.
You guys
I
brought
just played with
sister.
you, Spencer.
You all brought sister, and I tell you, she is a really good dog. I'm really surprised. There was dogs barking everywhere, and she is so well behaved.
She does pretty good. She does pretty good.
Oh,
She goes barking. There's something really there.
Yeah.
Hey, she had it figured out, buddy. She just like ease over and just kind of like sniff and rub on everybody. And everybody was either feeding her something or they was rubbing on her or both. She worked the crowd, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Greg,
Look.
Greg, do you remember when Rebecca was talking about sister? And, and tell us that.
Rebecca Green made that for me,
You
y'all.
You'll tell it better than I did. That's how my mind works, y'all. Because I was like watching the fire. I was in deep thoughts. I'm watching the fire, and Rebecca starts talking about their dog sister, and it just flipped like a light bulb kicked on, and I said what I said. So, yeah, I'll let you tell that, Mark.
Well, they were complimenting sister on how good she was, and so Rebecca said, well, she don't like it too hot, and she don't like it too cold. She don't like her food too wet, or she don't like it too dry. She don't like changes. And out of the smoke, I hear a voice come screaming out saying, she must be kin to my wife.
Oh,
sometimes the truth just rears its ugly head, looks around, and goes back out.
You've been popped up beside the head before, had you?
Yeah, I have. I've got pretty good reflexes. I can dip, duck, dodge, and dive. I'm kind of like that old boy on that movie. I've lived an eventful life, y'all. I mean, I got to be careful. I get hurt too easy. Man. But now that, guys, we had a blast. Our part did. And that's what I was going to tell Mark Green. I don't know how big a camper he's wanting to build, but I may or may not happen to know where there's another one of those pod boxes like I built my camper out of.
Yeah, I did like it. That is very. But one of the ultimatums she gave me was it needs a bathroom in it. So.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, Greg said it though in a leaf blower and a generator.
That's right. A leaf blower and a generator.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, man, that was kind of rude of that guy that night running that generator all night, and then I heard the leaf blower that morning at 7 o'clock. Just thinking, I said, Lord have mercy, I come to enjoy the woods, not hear, everything we heard, and I know that Sunday night there was a lot of activity going on around that time that rain come in, and of course that generator over there running was dampening it a lot, but there was some activity going on real heavy around that rain time.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear about the activity. What happened?
Over there toward where we were, it must have been around 4 a.m. somewhere in that neighborhood. Bradney, who came with me, him and his brother Ben, when it first started raining, he'd left his clothes and stuff hanging outside the air dry because him and his brother went and got in the creek and took a bath. And he decided he better get up and get those clothes real quick. And so he went out his camper. And when he came back in, he got everything settled. He laid down, and he said all of a sudden, he just hears something walk right by the camper. And he said it was real heavy, and he could tell it was two-legged. But he said it didn't go toward the bathroom. That's what caught his attention. Was it sounded like the sound came from my direction and came right by his camper and headed toward Sherry and them. And that's what caught his attention. During that same period of time, I had got up and set the bathroom bucket outside the tent. When I done that, I just unzipped the tent, set the bucket out, and zipped the tent back up. And I swore I got growled at, but I don't know that for 100%. 100%. But I swore I heard a growl come from where the little gravel road was to the right of me, because my tent was kind of facing back where you come into the camp. This was back over toward the right and like toward that gravel road. So all that happening right there in that time period with him getting his clothes, going back in the camper, and then hearing the walking come by and me hearing something. I'm pretty sure something was there right around our camp at that time period. And like he said, it sounded like it went toward Sherry and them where they were camped. And I think I asked the next morning, was anybody went to the restroom or anything around that time period? And everybody said no. So it was just kind of strange. I don't think these other people would walk through the middle of our camp going to the bathroom, at night when they could walk another way. I wouldn't walk through somebody's camp, at 4 o'clock in the morning. So,
no.
But that's some of it that went on Sunday night that I noticed and that he noticed. And plus something was tapping on their camper one time. He said it was a light tap on the back, 3 or 4 taps, probably 30 minutes after he was walking. And he said, in fact, the dog his dog they had with him kind of raised up, started looking, but never barked. And sister kind of got up moving around when I set that bucket out. And I don't know if she just got up moving around because I was moving around or if she knew something was going on outside. So that was some of the stuff we noticed early Sunday morning.
Well,
there's, stuff during the whole weekend that I kind of, like everybody else heard some stuff and seen some shadows moving and different things like that. So.
I've been to that area several times now with Mark and Larry and Eric and Kane. And I mean, in my opinion, it's definitely a really active area. It seems like there's always something there. The very first time I was there was the most action. Like that one time, there were a lot of trees either broke or pushed over or whatnot. That was one of the things that really made me start to go, holy cow, there's something happening here. It was so many trees getting knocked over. I mean, I don't care who you are. You're not used to hearing whatever it was, 6, 7, 8 trees fall over or large branches broke in one weekend. It's an active area. If y'all found possible tracks, and quite a few of you have talked about hearing sounds and everything. In fact, I'll let Misty talk about it, but she's got a recording that she's played for me over like over online. She couldn't figure out a way to get it downloaded on her computer and for us to actually look at it yet. But I will say that in that recording, to your ear, it definitely sounds like something other than normal owls or other indigenous animals and everything. Did y'all, first of all, I think Mark Newbill said that he doesn't remember any trees being pushed over, but did anybody hear anything like knocks or branch breaks or, possible vocals out loud? And if so, I mean, talk about it. Tell me about it. I wasn't there. I want to hear all about it.
I don't know that I noticed it when we were there, listen at the present time, but when I went back to the recordings, we had all of it. There were a lot of limb breaks, howls, they were pretty far off, some of them, and a metal clanking noise.
Oh my gosh. All right. The metal clanking noise. Everybody's going to be like, the metal noise, the metal noise. Everybody talks about it, LBL and all that kind of stuff. The metal noise. Describe the metal noise.
Me?
Now,
Somebody?
One of the metal noises is my booger wagon camper. The door on it's got that big, like, it's like a safe door. When you roll it, it's got bars that roll.
Yes, the bar latch.
Yeah, bar latch. Now, that may be the metal noise, but now I don't know where your recorder was, and that would have been, 100 feet or so from your camp. But
no, this was like a ping type noise.
Oh, no, it shouldn't have done that.
Well, after we get them everything gone through and stuff and get it out to you, you'll hear it was not a heavy like a door or something like that. It was just like a little light metal ping noise, and that's the best way I can describe it. But it was on there quite a few times.
Did anybody see anything? Did anybody see orbs, possible eye shine, the shadowy movement? Did anybody get any smells, anything like that?
Hey, listen. Greg wasn't there. I know what she's talking about, but he was talking about his booger wagon or whatever. But the recorders didn't get set out because I put them out and put one in the other campsite across from Kane and them, and one back behind us at the picnic table. So we had one on opposite ends. And he wasn't there. He was done gone whenever the recorders got out.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring Larry back in just a second. I think somebody's knocking on my door. Hold on just a second.
All right. So did anybody see any eye shine, any shadowy movement, any orbs, lights in the woods, anything like that?
Well, Friday night when we went to the cemetery, the one up on the hill, the old cemetery, and Misty could tell this too because Rebecca told her. I didn't see it, but Rebecca got a glimpse of it. She seen what looked like a little child up the top of the hill. Lasted for maybe a tenth of a second, and it was gone. Same time we were there, me and her noticed a light out back toward that old pasture land that was there for a few minutes. Then it just kind of, in fact, I said something to Sherry and them because they were standing there with us to look out that way with their thermals. And I don't think they seen anything. The other thing, there were two howls to the east of us. When we were standing at the cemetery, there was a bunch of coyotes got stirred up kind of back toward the south. But to the east of us, which would have been, a good piece in there, I heard two distinct howls come back. Now, I had my hunter ears on, and that's one reason I could probably pick it up when nobody else heard it. And it was way back in it. It was definitely, to me, a booger answering when Kane made his call. It stirred up the coyotes, but in the distance, I picked that up. And then the same night we went to a lookout, and Misty and Kane and Eric had walked up the road, and the rest of us kind of stayed there at the truck. I think Misty and Kane and them heard this too. When Kane made a few calls, or Kane or Eric, I can't remember who made the calls, but we had two hoot owls get to talking to each other. Well, in between the two hoot owls, because I had the hunter ears on again, when this hoot owl would go off, I'd hear just like that. Then this hoot owl would go off. And then the just like that. And it went on 3 different times. I picked it up. And then it quit. And the owls quit too. And
I think I actually caught that on the recorder, Mark, because it's a weird noise in between that. Because when I was trying to let Spencer and him listen to it, I was like, "Are you hearing that?" And
Yeah.
It's strange, and it seemed like the closer that something got to the recorder, the static just got crazy, just crazy loud.
Well, let's hear it.
I know.
There's a lot of white noise. It won't come across.
That's just Misty. She can't help it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was real. Whatever that was real strange in between those two owls, and you know, it was weird. That's right. It was Mr. Mark. It was we y'all. I'm getting confused. Y'all, I'm sorry, but I know it was Mr. Mark and Eric and you had walked up the road.
Me and Kane and Eric, or gosh, now I'm getting confused. Mark, dang it. Me and Mark and Kane walked up the road. But me and Eric and Sherry and Mark and Kane went hiking. But where we were at camp, I think Eric had done a call or two. Kane said he didn't call. So okay. I couldn't get him to. I don't know.
Okay. But that was some of the stuff that me and Rebecca noticed. And, of course, with some of y'all, and, of course, I heard some wood knocks. You know, that night we were all sitting there at the campfire, you know, back up off that ridge. You know, there was two pops real quick, went off. And then, of course, when me and Rebecca visited a couple of those cemeteries during the daytime, Rebecca got a very strong vibe off the newest cemetery that was close to the church. When she stepped in there, I heard her say, "Woo," just like that. She said, "It's something strong here." Now, she didn't say it was evil or, you know, a bad feeling. She just felt energy all of a sudden, you know, the energy of that cemetery. And then when we visited the one on the creek, I had the heebie-jeebies there the whole time we was there. I don't know why. Cemeteries usually don't bother me, but that cemetery gave me some heebie-jeebies. And
the little girl that she saw, Mark, was it at the one that we went to whenever it was dark?
Yeah, when we walked up the hill. Yeah, walked up that little hill.
You know, when me and Debbie Jones walked up, just me and her, all the way to the very top, and we were kind of talking, just, you know, like talking to anything that was there listening. We started smelling what to me and her smelled like a sweet cigar or something, but Eric said he started smelling honeysuckles. So,
well, we were getting a whiff of urine down there on our end, and I even said something to Sherry and Donna about it. I said, "Y'all getting a whiff of urine?" And a couple of times we got a whiff of real strong urine. And for a minute, I thought it may have been Sister went and took a leak or something, but I don't think she did, because the whole time she was with me. And I think, and I noticed the wind was coming from that pasture area. It was a little small breeze, and I noticed it was coming from that area. And that's the same place that she's seen me and her got a little glimpse of some kind of light that kind of just faded out. But now, the little girl was up top of the hill where y'all went. Because when we first got there, she said she was looking past everybody because she could see y'all silhouettes. But that's when she seen the little girl, you know, up there on top of the hill.
You know, when we got up there, we didn't know that that's where she had seen it. But before we got that smell, you could hear something making and it almost sounded female. I can't say it sounded like a little girl, but it sounded higher pitched. You could hear a couple of like moans, because I'm like, "Debbie, are you hearing this?" And she was like, "Yeah." So then she got to talking, trying to see, because we actually took a spirit box just to see what would happen. We turned it off. We were doing better without it, as far as getting the feelings and just hearing stuff, you know, without the static noise. And we heard a couple of moans and got a real sweet odor of something.
Yeah. I never did smell the sweet smells, but I did smell the urine that would come in, and it was a strong, pungent urine. I mean, it was very strong when I would get a whiff of it.
but it wasn't there the whole time. It's like when that wind or breeze would blow just a hair, it would bring it in there to us. Now, it could have been where an animal used the restroom that day. I mean, there's no telling, but did, pick that up, while we were there at that cemetery. So.
Let me ask you this, Mark, because, and you too, Misty, that whenever y'all would get a whiff of something, was it just for a second or two and it would be gone? Because me and Eric were standing there probably 6 feet apart, and when he smelt the honeysuckle, then I didn't smell it, and no more. And he got that out of his mouth. He goes, "It's gone."
Me and Davey were standing pretty much arm to arm. I mean, we were really, really close, and we could smell it for several seconds. But it seemed like once it was gone, it was gone. And then we walked back down to where you guys were, and I was telling you all what we were smelling, and Eric said, "Well, here I was smelling honeysuckles, or what smelled like honeysuckles."
Yeah, it was just for a faint second. It wasn't something. It just stayed there. It would.
Yeah.
It's just like it would come in and go at times,
I've heard, I think it was Kumbo. I've heard him say about if you smell something sweet, and I think he said almost like honeysuckle. Pretty sure that's what he said. That could possibly be a female and be close to you, or like one that's even breathing and like you can smell its breath. I'm pretty sure I've heard Kumbo say that, but I mean, who knows? The honeysuckle, the sweet smell, the weird sweet smell that comes and goes away, though, that's referenced a lot by a bunch of people. And also, happy belated birthday, Leanne. Sorry, I don't get Facebook notifications about that stuff anymore, but happy belated birthday, darling. Sorry, I didn't know.
Happy birthday.
Yep, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So, you guys you got possible vocals, possible smells, possible tracks. I mean, overall, what do you think on like a scale of 1 to 10? Do you think that boogers were there?
I'm just going to tell you, I had something come up behind my tent. I don't care what nobody says.
We haven't talked about that yet, Squirrel. Hold on. That's a whole separate thing.
I thought it was there. You done gone right.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I really had was the first night we were there. We were over at my camping spot till everybody else was all over at Sherry's, and we were a little later going over than everybody else. But we had something come in, like if you were standing at my camper looking away from everybody toward the woods, it came in on the right side, and it was moving. Now it wasn't easy and long. It was moving quick, and it sounded bipedal, and it come kind of from the right toward the road, and it came through the woods back behind us, and it sounded like it was maybe as far as where the flat behind us where it turned up the hill, but it sounded like it come around to the side, the bottom of that ridge line, and just kept going from right to left, and it went down there and stopped one time, and then it kept going, and it sounded like it went up that hollow behind where Debbie and Larry were, and it went out of here. I have no clue what it was, but that was really the only thing that I really heard was that first night, and it was, I don't know what, probably 9:30, something like that. But whatever it was moving quick. It didn't sound like a four-legged something, but it was moving on, and it came from the right, and it just continued on and was gone. So, but now, which I didn't go with them on their dadgum Spook Fest 3000 down there.
I laughed when you said that.
Hey, look, I'll go off in the woods with the boogers, but you ain't gonna have me down there provoking no haints and spooks. That shit probably gone.
Man, the first time I went there and they said we were going to stop at a graveyard, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, they're just trying to scare me now or have that creepy feel come into it.
Yeah.
No, that's where the stuff actually popped off at. And I I was like way shocked.
Yeah.
I wish we had Eric and Kane on here because they've been to this area a whole lot, you know, and they would have a lot of input as far as was this more or less active than it normally is. I'm telling you, though, it's a good area. You know, with like you two, with Greg and Mark Green, you know, y'all being in Alabama, a lot of your encounters have been a whole lot more in your face, like where there was definitely absolutely something going on,
Oh yeah.
you know. And this kind of stuff, whenever you get there and it's like you go, did I hear something? You know, is that walking back there? It's not as aggressive or obvious as a lot of stuff that y'all have been through. But I mean, in your opinion, obviously it's a very boogery area. But in your opinion, do you think that they were there and just not being really loud and obnoxious and aggressive?
After listening,
I'm
to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Sherry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sherry. Interrupt anytime you want to. It's all good.
Hey, you leave Sherry alone.
We had a lot of rain and wind, and that makes it harder. But after listening to the tapes, I'd say they were around, but at a distance the whole time, because I didn't realize we got as much stuff as we did till I started listening to those tapes, and they're not done yet.
Where's the recording, Sherry? Where's the recording?
We are working on them.
Where's the recording, Sherry? You come on the show completely unprepared. I'm highly disappointed.
I was up in this chair almost all night last night working on those tapes. But
I'm just picking.
I know,
but I'm just picking.
To work on it. You know, we want to compile it together and give a time frame and everything. You know, when we give it to you.
Whenever you get them done, will you try to post them on the SAS page so that people can see it and everything?
We'll send them out to you all too.
Yeah, please do. I'd like to see them. Mark, Greg, do y'all think that they were there just keeping their distance?
Well,
yeah, I think they were there.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, I wasn't really let down that we didn't have something sure enough crazy going on in camp, because man, the camp was full. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, you know, well, if it wasn't that many people, and like I said, that's why when, you know, there was a couple of people done left before we left Sunday morning, and you know, everybody was, Mark was leaving, we was leaving, you know, Captain Leaf Blower was leaving, or done left. So, you know, that's what I figured, you know, here that y'all was kind of in a prime deal, or everybody that was there was kind of in a prime deal, because think about it, just my thoughts. These things was probably like, okay, there's all these people were here. I'm sure they were probably up and away from us observing everything. And it just makes sense that why would you want to expose yourself to a lot of people? I mean, Mark's going to tell you the same thing I do. These things don't want to be seen. They don't want to, they're going to ease around and try to hide.
If the campground was full, and eventually Misty will come back on here. She done closed off her old camera and everything. Misty, Squirrel, get back on here. But eventually, if Misty would get back on here, she can talk about the recordings that happened. And I think it's very suspicious with some of the other stuff that correlates with what she did and what she was experiencing. And then the timing, if you're talking about a campground full of campers that are cooking and throwing out their trash, and it's really busy, and then everybody leaves, and whenever everybody leaves and it's only a handful of people left,
it's time to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really suspicious. I'm gonna jump off here, and Misty's gonna get back on and explain the recording.
Put me out for just a few minutes.
Or me.
All right.
Yeah, put me out for a few minutes. You can bring me back.
Who wants to go?
You can put us out. We don't care.
I mean, I'll be back.
Whatever you, right. Whatever you need to do.
Bring Squirrel on.
Stay backstage.
You take me out for a few minutes if you need to, Spencer.
Us too.
No, hold on. Why did Larry go out?
Because I raised my hand.
Why is everybody leaving? I just got here. Dang, I'll go back out, y'all.
Well, talking about what Spencer asked, yes, I think there was something there the whole weekend. I'm like, y'all, I know that was opening trout season for that stream, I think, if I read that correctly. I think also those campgrounds just had opened up for the year again, because I noticed they were closed like from November the 1st of April. And the guy who was camped across from us hunts in there some during the winter, and he told me that day I was talking to him, usually that place in the winter is dead, except for occasional hunters here and there. So all of a sudden you have this weekend where there's people piled in there. Of course, they were curious. They was probably sitting up on them ridge tops, probably having a field day, watching and laughing at us.
Well, Mark, where you all were at, and I know when them people were yelling, you all had a better, I guess, campsite as far as listening to what was going on that side than me and Mark did. Was you hearing something over top of that yelling, like something further on past that other camper that was
a couple times it did sound like it.
Yeah, we did too. I didn't know if I was the only one that was hearing
it. Sounded like it was further up the creek, maybe a half a mile or so on up that creek bed, maybe in that direction.
I think so, Mark, because me and Misty did a night hike one night, and we had been talking about instrumentation and batteries and things like that, and how, you know, that might cause them to kind of be cautious and have a sense that we've got something, you know, on us that's not natural. And so I didn't carry anything, no phone, no nothing. And we walked up that road to where that dude was hollering, and we could hear him holler, and then we would hear something further off, like what you said, maybe a half a mile, that was like responding to that hollering, and it did not sound human, not human at all.
There was a couple of times I put my hunter ears on back over at our camp, like when I'd leave from over, you know, where everybody was sitting and walk back to my camp a minute. Sometimes I would just slip him hunter ears on a minute and just kind of turn real slow, just listening. And of course, he's down there hooping and hollering. But there was a couple of times there was something. I mean, it sounded like a booger to me. It sounded just like the ones on Creepy Mountain, you know. But you could tell it was just a lot further away in there. And I don't know if them guys were just hooping and hollering to be hooping and hollering, or if they actually knew something. I don't know. But there's something definitely answering him, and probably with all that commotion, probably brought some up just to see what he was doing. You know, if I was a booger, I'd say I'm going to go up here and see what this human's doing and why he's carrying on so much for. But
yeah, because it was a lot. So, it's probably getting aggravated.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. But you know, but I think it definitely came in because so many people just arriving all of a sudden, and people playing in the creek and up and down the road, and you know, plus all the other campers back up the road, and some of them were isolated. It would have been real good to somehow approach them without being very, very obvious. Hey, y'all hearing stuff up here around your camp and stuff? And you know, I started to stop and talk to some of them, and I said, well, I'm gonna just leave them be. But I did end up talking to the guy across from me, the one that had the bear tear all his trash up that Thursday night. And, you know, later on, because he asked what we were doing there. When he found out I was from Alabama, he was kind of curious why I came all the way from Alabama to, you know, Kentucky to camp. And I said, well, I'm looking for something. And he's looking for something. I said, we booger hunters. And I said, we just get together and, you know, camp out and, you know, listen around, see if there's anything here or not. He didn't say nothing else. He kind of stayed quiet. I mean, it's still nice. Me and Rebecca left for a few hours. I think that's when we went riding and looked at some of the cemeteries and stuff. And we came back and here he and his wife come, and they had an experience to tell us. And I think Mr. Mark heard some of it too when he walked up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the things they had witnessed over the years. They had something cross the road on them one night that they said had a wolf head, and they almost hit it. And the guy said it was very huge. He said it kind of looked wolf looking, but it didn't look wolf looking. So, and some other, they talked about paranormal a good bit. They lived in a haunted house. So we heard a good bit about stuff they had in their haunted house. So, but there was somebody just out of the blue, that slowly entering into that conversation. I kind of asked him, I said, you ever hear any weird things since you hunt in here a lot? He said, yeah, I've heard a lot of weird stuff in here. He said, I don't really know what it is, though. So, yeah, I know Spencer on the man dog thing. but I'm going on a dog hunt.
You don't listen to Spencer. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Jonathan Odom's going to have
show today.
Well, I got invited to a dog man hunt May 15th in Talladega National Forest. I'm sitting here scratching my head if I really want to jump into that or not. But they claim they know where one's hanging out there. So I'm going to go visit with them and see what goes on. So I hope I come back alive if things as mean as they say they are. Oh.
Take Spencer and tie a pork chop to his leg.
Y'all can take me out anytime you get ready and let somebody else come in. I'll be listening and everything.
No, we'll swap yins out.
Swap me out a little bit.
We didn't see no dog man. Not that we know of anyways. Had some perverted owls. They were.
Hold on, I got to come back in here to guide this thing. Misty, talk about the recording and talk about the Rangers coming up, the recording, and everything that happened on, what was it, Sunday night, y'all? Whenever most of the people left and there was only a handful of y'all left there. Let's talk about that.
Well, they just came in because everybody left.
Who did?
We started, the Rangers the next morning.
Start the sentence. Start the sentence with the Rangers came in. Not they just came in. We don't know what you're talking about.
Talk about the Rangers.
You make me cringe the way that you talk to Misty. God.
He's mean, ain't he?
Rush, Mark. I'm going backstage. Quiet.
Take me on backstage for a few minutes too.
No, you're all right.
No, you're all right.
Yeah, you're right. I can't even look. I'm not even doing it.
Well, we were kind of packing up, and a ranger pulled up, and she was out there posting signs at the different campsites. And she told us that there's another campground that's down about a half a mile. And she said that one of the campers left out because something was messing around their campsite. And it actually took one of their coolers and dragged it off down by the water. And he found it the next day, but they pretty much packed out the next morning's what the ranger said. But it's kind of curious to me that if it was a bear, that he would have dragged it down into the water. Seemed like a bear would have tried to tear into it right there. But it was like something just, she kind of just said it just kind of picked it up and took it down to the water. And they were blaming it on a bear.
Well, what's so weird about it, though, is the very first night we were there, we actually had a bear come into camp. I mean,
we did?
Yeah.
Did you tell that story?
No, but I'm going to let you hear in just a second since you ain't got to talk. But
I was asleep.
We heard it before what happened with Debbie and Larry. Me and Mark was sitting there and we're hearing something walking around. I'm like, Mark, I think I hear a bear. And we're just listening. And so we finally go to bed and I get in my tent and I can hear this thing back behind my tent kind of like groaning and grunting around like it's sniffing, trying to figure out what I was in camp. And then tell them about you and Debbie, what happened.
Well, all I know is I was asleep and about 3:30, somewhere in there, Debbie was elbowing me because she was hearing walking. And every time she hears walking, she's going to wake me up. And I always tell her, it's something walking. That's good. Keep listening. I'm going to sleep. But she kept on, and I could hear it walking by our tent. And I told her, stick your hand out and light it up the spotlight. If it's a booger, great. If it ain't, then run it off so I can go to sleep. So she leans out the tent and shines, and it's a black bear. It's got its nose in Mark's cooler, pretty much. A big one. So that ain't good enough for her. She's got to go out of the tent and go toward the bear, yelling, "Hey, bear," clapping her hands and yelling, "Misty, you got a bear close to your tent." And then from there, Misty poked her head out, and then they took over, and I went back to sleep.
That's pretty much it. We ran it off, but it never came back. I mean, not that I know of.
But evidently it was either on the other side of camp before it came to us, which it probably was because it was headed from that way around, like from Kane and Eric around us toward y'all. So it must have already tore up their garbage on the other end and been looking for others.
Yeah. She wasn't letting it get me, Leanne. She's going, "You got a bear outside your tent."
No, she wasn't. She took off right after it. I'm like, good gosh.
I didn't know what was going on at first. I was dead asleep. I mean, just sleeping good. And I unzipped the tent and look out. I'm like, "Debbie, what are you doing outside my tent?" She's barefooted in shorts and a t-shirt and it cold.
Chasing a bear.
Chasing a bear. That's right.
Billy asked Jim a question he needs to answer. Billy Schilling. Do you see it? Spencer put it up. He asked after seeing the footprints, was Jim any less skeptical about the possibility of there being something out there?
Probably a little bit. but I'm not sure what made that or how it got there. But I'll agree it looked like a footprint, about 16 inches long. Two of them.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
He's getting there, Billy. He's getting there.
Mr. Jim, I've never met you in person, but you saw a 16-inch footprint, and you're a bear hunter, so I would imagine you know the difference between a double step and what you saw.
Absolutely.
You saw a 16-inch footprint, and you said little bit. It only, with all due respect, sir, that only changed your opinion a little bit.
That's right.
Well, you gotta understand, Spencer. You see all these things about hoaxing footprints and this and that. Mr. Jim goes to the. Just because it looks like it, don't mean it is. It could be something else.
Okay. Okay. I really wanted to meet you, Jim. I really wanted to meet you and pick your brain on this. This is the same kind of conversation I had with Cam Buckner, because in my mind, it's like whenever you are confronted with a lot of this stuff, let me ask you this, Jim. What would it take? I mean, short of seeing one, what would it take to convince you not only that they're real, but that they're, there's a large population of them. They're pretty active and everything. Are you the kind of person that just has to see one with your own eyes?
I believe you ruled out when you said it. Besides seeing one, I want to see one if I'm going
Right.
to exist.
Right. Well, I can understand that. I can appreciate that. What do you think the tracks that you saw? Do you think that somebody hoaxed those?
I don't think so. But I don't know what they were real light indentation. They wasn't deep. They wasn't nothing that I'd be looking for a Bigfoot, but
right.
Except it was there. But it wasn't a bit deep, and I don't know. I just think something could have happened that wasn't a Bigfoot. I don't know. If I'd seen him put his foot there, I'd say it would.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave you alone, sir. But I did want to talk to you. I was really looking forward to meeting you and picking your brain on the subject and everything. How many years have you been hunting, Jim?
Well, I'm 86-year-old, and you take 10 years I didn't hunt. I started hunting at 10-year-old by myself. I had an old black shepherd dog that would tree a possum every now and then, and I'd go hunting by myself, catch a possum. And I got a gun when I got 13-year-old. Up till then, I either climbed or shook or didn't get.
So for 76 years, you've been in the woods hunting other critters, right?
In about 15 states.
Really? That far? Hey, speaking of that, what's the biggest bear you ever got?
He's never shot one.
You never shot one?
I've never killed a bear and never will.
Me neither. Me neither.
I'd rather just take a picture of it and run him another time.
What's the biggest deer you ever got, Jim?
I never did deer hunt, but for about a year.
What have you been hunting all these years?
Coons.
Coon and bear.
Rabbits.
So you're used to running with dogs then, right? The whole time?
If I can't run with dogs, I don't hunt.
That Mark Green says a lot like that. Well, not that he won't hunt, but he really misses the whole hunting with dogs more than what we do nowadays. Let me ask you this. If you've been out hunting with dogs for that long, have you seen the dogs act really weird whenever you were out hunting?
No, sir, I've not.
Really?
Never had them to cow down, not hunt, or do any of the things I hear about. So
Well, just Missy's that one time, but we don't know what caused that.
Right.
I don't know what caused that.
Still, though, I mean, for all of us that are into the Bigfoot thing, here's a guy that's been out there in the woods for the better part of 80 years with dogs. And he's saying he hasn't had anything weird happen while he was out there. I mean, don't you think? I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, that's a pretty good testimony to a lot of these people. You know, we all know somebody, if you try to bring up the Bigfoot thing, we all know somebody that's like, I've been hunting all my life and I've never seen anything or anything to do with Bigfoot or whatnot. Well, here's a guy that's been hunting for better part of 80 years and he hasn't really seen anything or had anything leave an impression on him and never even seen the dogs like act weird or not want to get on a hunt or whatnot. Just saying, there's two sides to the coin, and I think we all need to be, keep an open mind about it and not be overly critical on the whole subject, you know?
Spencer, let me chime in a little bit. It's like
no, Greg, no.
Yeah. Just like I've told everybody, I mean, I was that guy, up till 20 years ago. I was that guy. I mean, I'd hunted my whole life, spent all that time in the woods, and Daddy dragging me to the woods when I was 3, 4 years old. And you know, if my dad cancer got him 2 years ago, or Daddy would have been 84 right now. So Mr. Jim didn't have but about a year and a half, 2 years on my dad. And up till we started really putting in the time over here on this property, when I went in there with the dozer and cleared it out and started hunting, started having those encounters. Daddy was just like Mr. Jim. I mean, you know, they come up the same area. And, you know, if you can't lay your hands on it and you can't see it in person,
Right.
you can't put stock in it. And that's the way Daddy was. And, you know, even Daddy was just like me. You know, we was hearing this stuff, we was having these encounters. He was hearing the wood knocks, the hoops, the howls, the grunts, the huffs, these things breaking limbs, but we still couldn't see it. And then I finally saw it. And then it wasn't long after that, like the next hunting season, when Dad saw one, he finally saw it himself. And that was just like, you know, an epiphany, like the sun broke through the clouds, like there it is. And that's the reason I don't blame anybody. I mean, if they don't want to believe it, that's fine. Where I get the problem is if you start ridiculing somebody that does.
Oh yeah. Well,
that's where if people can doubt all they want to, that's on them. Because like I said, I was that doubting guy for a very long time. So, and I mean, that's even with the things scaring me to death. I still couldn't say 100% that that's what that was. But now once you finally see one, my gosh, you're talking about life altering.
Hold on though. First of all, Greg, show your baby girl there so we can all say hi to her.
Here, baby. This is Abigail Grace. We'll call her Abby.
Hi, Abby.
She's the sweetest little girl you ever gonna see. She's
y'all in the chat,
soaking it in. She's been easing in. She just wanting to get on here.
Hi, Abby. You can get on here. You can sit with your dad. Greg.
Spencer, let me just throw this in real quick.
Yeah.
Now, I think most people will agree that boogers have a higher intelligence than other animals. Now, when they hear those trucks and hear those dogs barking, you know they get up out of the way. And just like deer hunting season in my part of the woods, when that orange hits the woods, they're going to go 2 or 3 ridges back where they know the hunters don't go. And I think that has a lot to do with it, that the boogers are intelligent enough to know that when the dogs and the hunters and the trucks start rolling in, they need to step back a little bit.
What? So, do you think if the hunters cause such an amount of commotion coming into the woods, because I mean, obviously in September and October, when everything is getting kicked off, there's a whole lot of people getting in the woods that are not in there for the other 8-9 months out of the year, predominantly. You know, whenever the hunters get in there, if that sends the boogers packing to the point where they're like, hey, a bunch of hunters are coming in the woods right now and everything, there are still a whole lot of encounters by hunters being up in tree stands or whatnot. There's a whole lot of encounters from people just walking around and hiking in the woods. And I mean, normally whenever you're hiking, I mean, if I wasn't thinking anything about Bigfoot, if I was just trucking it for several miles through the wilderness, I'm probably not going to be super quiet. I'm probably going to be making some noise and everything. I mean, where do the boogers go? Like, do they just go somewhere else? Do they go, like, for example, do they go to nearby farmland that's got like a little bit of forested land on it and hang out there for 3 months? I mean, does anybody have an opinion on that? Where do they go during hunting season?
I do, and it's from spending so much time at LBL. You got to think about a hunter. If a hunter harvests a deer, he's got to drag it out. Now, these boogers have watched for generations that hunters aren't going to go more than 2 ridges back, because
Right.
they are going to have to, they don't want to drag that deer back. So
Right.
I think they scoot back. Now at LBL, they have safe areas, no hunting areas. And I think that they know for some reason the hunters don't come in this part of the park for no reason. They're not in there. And that's
Right.
where me and Larry first started looking for these creatures. We would go to those areas during hunting season because we knew hunters wasn't allowed. It was safer for us, and it was definitely safer for the boogers because
Right.
hunters were not coming in that area.
You're talking about just the boogers, Mark. Animals know that too. When we bear hunt, first place that bear will head for is the bear refuge because they know they're safe there. Now, if they know it, something more intelligent knows it.
Yeah.
That's they'll run right toward the refuge.
Well,
if they can get there.
That theory about racket and a lot of commotion. I hunted for years with me and my 11-year-old daughter. We didn't make too much racket because we'd turn the dog out and sit down on the tailgate, wait till the tree to come, go look at it, and go home. We didn't make much racket.
But a lot of them do.
I'm talking about me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even if they don't make a whole lot of racket, I mean, you have to admit that the average hunter, most people, you know, they go out there and they carry a stand out in the woods. They set it up. I mean, some of them go so far as to put out like food plots and whatnot, which is time in the woods and everything. But their presence in the woods, there's a lot more human presence in the woods during hunting season, you know, than there is at other times of the year. So, I mean, I'm just simply saying if the boogers, if they're here at one time of the year and then a bunch of people come in and they got to go somewhere else, where do they go? Do they go to those far back areas? Because like what Mark was saying about, you know, the average person doesn't go in that far. I mean, most of the people that I hunt with, you know, you'd be lucky if they go in 100 yards from where their truck is, you know.
What Mark's talking about is public land hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A private land hunter, that guy's going to take the same path into his little tree house stand with his recliner and his
every single time.
Every time. So he don't have to go 3 ridges back for the private land. He can just go a ridge or two and know that guy's not coming anywhere around there. And you know, from people hunting in grizzly territory, the grizzlies actually come toward the gunshots after the hunters shoot because they know there's food on the ground, either a gun pile or meat.
Well,
so on private land, the boogers will know when this guy harvests a deer and it's dark, hey, I may have a free meal over here because he may have gutted it or he may not have found the deer at all.
Spencer, another thing too, let me tell you what deer will do. Deer, if they get pressured, a lot of times they'll go up in just a thicket. I'm talking about in somebody's backyard. They'll go into a residential area and bed up. You can have just like a vacant lot. That thing will fill up with deer because nothing's messing with them. Out there in the wide open woods, that's where all the hunters is flooded in. So they'll go up into a privet hedge thicket or just an overgrown lot. They'll pile up. Unless you go in there and nearly kick one, that deer's going to lay right there and let you walk right by it. And some of the biggest bucks get seen in people's backyards.
Yep.
And also, how many times have you heard people in the Bigfoot world talk about their encounter? And whenever they had a encounter, it was because they did something different than what they normally do. You know, it's like, oh, I was always a deer hunter. And come turkey season, I decided to go turkey hunt up in here. And that's whenever stuff popped off. You know what I'm saying?
That's what happened to Kerry Arnold.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the main ones I was thinking of. But, and Kerry, God bless him, was on that land for what, 7, 8 years?
8 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm simply saying, I do think they pattern us. I do. I think they pattern us. I think, you know, there's a whole lot of people that have hunted their whole life that have never seen them. But I think a majority of those people have hunted the same way year after year of their life. And I think there's a lot of people that whenever they change the way that they do it, they go in deeper, they go in a different way, they go in a different time of year or whatever. That's whenever the stuff happens. Because if you were a booger that was avoiding, for example, if you had somebody that had 20, 30 acres of private land that bordered public land and they never ever hunted, during hunting season, whenever all the hunters come in on the public land, if the boogers moved to the private land and that guy never hunted, and then that guy decides this year, I'm going to go out and try deer hunting. He goes in there and the boogers are there. In my mind, it seems like a perfect storm for that guy to have something pop off. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like I was 39 years old before I seen my first booger. I started coon hunting when I was 14 years old with friends and an uncle. We heard weird things sometimes, but didn't pay it that much attention.
Right.
And, you know, I grew up rabbit hunting, quail hunting. I mean, all types of hunting that you can do in Alabama. And sometimes would hear things or see things that was kind of not normal looking, but wouldn't think much else about it. But after 2007, when I seen that booger, in which it wasn't on my hunting club, it was in Lowndes County, Alabama. It was a totally different place I was hunting. But, you know, once we started finding out they were on our hunting club and I started looking back over time, stuff started adding up, things that went weird, dogs that quit hunting or went hunting in a spot, or stuff started adding up that showed me before then there was something there. I just wasn't recognizing it. Number two, like on our club, it's a private club, but majority of the hunters are in a shooting house on a green field, or they're in a tree stand. And like you said, it's 100 yards off the road. They walk to that tree stand and walk back out. I mean, you can find their trails. I just ride down through the road and I look and I can see the trail going to his tree stand just as pretty.
Yeah.
Well, and like I've told y'all before, there's parts of our club that nobody will hunt. That just nobody will hunt there because it's rough land. If you kill a deer in there, it's a day's job getting him out. And them boogers know that. And they know how to get around these cameras. They know most of the cameras are sitting around them green fields or around that tree stand. They put that 2 and 2 together and they learn to avoid it. And in that time, I think they come back out into those areas. But by daylight, they know they need to be back over here in this certain little area. You know, because coon hunters, pretty much when a dog trees, and Mr. Jim can tell you, you go straight to the dogs. You get your dogs, and you come back straight to the truck. Try to go the same way you came. And so, yeah, I think they've learned us, just like the deer pattern us, all the other animals pattern us.
Yeah.
They pattern us too. They watch what we're doing. They know where we got everything, and they know how to get around it, you know.
Yeah. I'd like to see stats on the hunter encounters, because I would bet that the hunter encounters are mainly turkey hunters, bow hunters, and coon hunters, probably.
Probably.
They cover more land and it's more sporadic where they hunt.
And it's also the fishermen. Let's not forget, like a lot of people fishing. I mean, that's at an odd time of the year for, you know, compared to regular hunting. So, I mean, I really do. I think there's something to the timing of it. I wish we could figure out exactly what it was. But y'all, we've been in this an hour and a half now. does anybody have anything else to add? I'm gonna jump off here and bring Squirrel back on.
Yeah, I do. I want Misty to come on.
I agree.
Tell what happened with the mimicking that she was doing.
Send Eric the link. Somebody, I sent him mine, but just to make sure he messages said to send him the link to get on.
Oh, here, I'll drop off.
We can get on too. Did you just hear me?
Yeah, don't leave. Hold on.
I sent it, but just to make sure he gets the right
I'll
one.
go off so he can come on.
No, I'll come. You were involved with it more, Misty. I was at camp most of the time. So just
take me out too, Misty.
Put him in my spot.
Take us.
No, you put me and Abby backstage. We ain't going nowhere.
Well, what Mark's talking about is after everybody had left, it was just me, Sherry, and Jim and Donna. And they were trying to finish getting their stuff packed up, and we were going to try to cast a few tracks before we got out of there. I get back in there kind of looking around behind where Greg was trying to pick up the tracks where this thing had walked in and come up behind my tent. And I start hearing just way, way off, like this long, drawn out, like booger sound. Just a long, like the woo, but really high pitched. So it kept on and on and on. And so I mimic it, and I just make the same sound and call pretty much of what it was doing. And instantly I get what sounded like a pop or something. I don't know if it was a tree snap. It was a little windy, but it was a snap or something like what Kane does with his mouth. So I tried to do it, and I did not have any luck. I really sucked at doing it, but I barely got something to come out, and it instantly done it again. So then I just done just a quick little, just a whoop like that. Instantly got a response. I took off. I went straight back up to Sherry. And I was like, screw this. I ain't staying down here by myself. Hey, Eric.
Hey, what's up, Eric? Go ahead and take me off, and let's just kind of let the end of the show be talking with Eric.
You
guys keep. I'll just listen.
Just go and sit there and look pretty, aren't you, Eric?
That's right. That's
right. Big old sexy lumberjack.
Go ahead, Misty. Take me off for a minute and put somebody else back in. I'll be listening.
You can take us off too.
No, you guys are fine. If anybody's got anything to say, raise your hand. I'll see you backstage. I'll bring you on. But y'all all got stories to tell too. Let's hear something, Eric. Tell us something good.
I was asleep.
Me too.
I don't know. I mean, we know camp clears out at Sunday. We witnessed that. Camp's cleared out at Sunday. So you figure Sunday through Wednesday. I was there Wednesday by myself until Larry and Debbie showed up, and they rolled in, 12:30-ish?
12:30,
Yeah, something like that. So from the time it got dark until 12:30, and I went out actually driving around prior to that and went up on the ridge and did some calls and came back down in, and it was, it was quiet for nobody being there. And I'm figuring from Sunday to Wednesday of me showing up, nobody was down in there. And then Wednesday night, not really hearing. I heard some stuff out in the distance at night, but honestly, I have to contribute that to probably, maybe bear or something, milling around back in there. Vocal wise, I didn't get anything on. Now I did have my recorder out Wednesday night, but that's the only night I had it out. The rest of the time, I didn't even have a recorder playing. Simply because I stopped it when the other people at the other camp started, raising 10 kinds of heck. Is really when I turned it off. I was like, oh, that's pointless. but yeah, I went through the audio from Wednesday night, and I didn't capture anything. What I did find extremely odd though was I can't remember what night it was, but we were out and we did calls, and Misty and I were walked down the road, and I don't know if you guys already talked about this or not.
We didn't.
But there was a strange audio, and I'm hoping somebody captured it. But even where we were standing, it was like it wasn't loud. I don't think it was loud enough for the people all the way back to the vehicles to capture it on audio. But it was almost like I don't even know how to describe it, Misty. Honestly, yeah,
It's weird. I don't know. It was really strange, and it sounded really close at times. Like I thought whenever it was over in front of us, because I had walked off, and then we had walked off together.
Yeah.
Eric, I have a question. Considering how much time you guys have spent in the woods up in Ohio, you've been to this part of Kentucky a whole lot, but I know you know Ohio better than you know like this area of Kentucky, but you've been there a bunch. Do you think that there is certain times a year where they are more active? Why do you think they would be more active at a certain time of year and everything? And do you think that like, just trying to pick your brain, do you think if you go and camp, like primitive camping out in the middle of the woods where, a lot of people don't go, do you think there's a chance that they come up to you more whenever you're out in the middle of the woods where most people aren't? Or do you think they come up to you more in a situation like where you're at a campground and they're used to people and they know like how to get in there and how to get close to you and everything? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, up here, we know that in documenting, we know that they're active by mid to late April, all the way up through late November. Now, we are having season change up here. Our winters have been pushed. Our winters now are like late December through like late March. We have shifted, and that's kind of changed their movement as well. But we are still in that April to November of when they really start ramping up. The foliage is coming back. The movement is becoming stronger. Vegetation is coming back to eat on. They drop down from high elevation. They come back down into the lower elevation areas. I contribute a lot of this up here and Kentucky. Really no difference in terrain, vegetation, season, right. All of that. The activity up here isn't as aggressive as other areas that I've heard people talk about. We do get aggressive interaction, but nothing like I've heard stories of way up north, in the Canada regions and even down south, even with Mark and Greg and the intense interactions that they get. But for whatever reason it ramps up through that season. And then once the foliage drops, everything drops down. Line of sight is much longer to see through the woods, this and that. They push out and they go very deep. They go very remote, very deep. And then going out and camping like some of us do, I feel yes, that does bring them in much closer to you. You're now in a situation in an area that they're very comfortable in, and now you're in their domain more so than being at a campground. At a campground, yes, they do come in on you. They know how to work the terrain. They know how to move through the terrain to not be seen or detected. It's mainly in the evenings when they do it at a campground. They're visual on campgrounds. They watch more so than being out in the thick, in the bush, in hammock camping in their domain, to where they really don't. They're not threatened whatsoever by you, and they will come up on you, early in the mornings, just at daybreak. I've had them right up on top of us. And then just at dusk, I've had them right on top of us. And then obviously through the evenings, it's even more ramped up.
Yep. That's what happened to me after everybody left. I'm telling you, there was something, and it wasn't no freaking bear walked up behind our tent. I ain't never heard a bear try to mimic our calls.
Yeah, and it's very. I mean, it's anything is possible. It's very possible, and you all saw the terrain that we were in. They can, in a heartbeat, they can disappear. They can drop off 50 yards from you, and stay. They can stay 50 yards from us around that campsite, and we'd never know it, because of the terrain. And the way, think about it. Think about the bear. Think about the bears that I know for a fact. Friday, there was a bear right below our tent. We had that little tiny dip, and just his movement was so quiet, so fluid. I knew it was a bear. It didn't sound bipedal whatsoever, so I contribute it to being a bear. But just the fluidness of him, the way he was moving or she was moving, very light-footed, so it very well could have been something other than, a known animal coming up behind your tent. Very easily could have been. These things, if you watch the live video that Kane and I did out in one of the areas that we did a few months back, I mean, this thing was on top of us in a matter of seconds, and we were completely dark. And I told Kane, I said, that's the first time that we've been dark, completely dark. Nothing. We're buried in camo. We're buried in the foliage. And the way that this thing was moving, no moonlight. I mean, it was black. And the way that this thing was moving was like it was high noon with no clouds in sight. So think about the vision, the eyesight that they have at night. For something to be able to move like that in just complete darkness and not trip over anything, not snap a branch walking, not anything, and just that glide, that silent glide that they have. Think about that. That's eerie. That's eerie.
That's what I've always said about bear. I mean, if you've ever bear hunted or watched a bear whenever it's out running, up 250, 300-pound bear is one of the most graceful things you'll ever see run up the side of a straight up rock cliff or up a tree, and it'll do it like it ain't nothing and be pretty about it.
But bears don't typically, they don't hide behind trees and peek at you. Yeah. And they definitely don't do it at night. And I mean, these things seem to know where you are at all times, day or night, hide from you, remain elusive, remain like one ridge or whatever back behind a tree and everything. I mean, how do you explain that? What natural animal does that? Like
a thought process, a higher thought process than a bear. A bear, the chemical imbalance of a bear is I am alpha. There is nothing else out there. That is a chemical thing that a bear has, and it doesn't care about. It's not trying to tiptoe through the woods. It doesn't care. It doesn't care that you know that I am here. I'm coming, whether I sound like a herd of elephants or I sound like a mouse. I'm coming. That's a bear. Where we put Sasquatch in a much higher elevated thought process and thinking process of manipulating sound, manipulating camouflage, manipulating things.
How do you explain, Eric, specifically, how do you explain them constantly hiding and not wanting to be seen? I mean, not wanting to be seen by us, not wanting to be seen by cars, not wanting to be seen by other animals. Do you think it's like some of the other people have said, you know, if they're the like tippy top of the predator chain, they've got to be wary of not only us, but like the deer, the coyotes, and everything, because that's their prey. So they're like playing this dual role where they are, you know, watching out for us and watching out for everything that they would hunt. You know, do you think that's what it is? Is that their mentality? I mean, not that they obviously they could get rid of us if they wanted to, but why do you think they are constantly staying far away from us, avoiding us, hiding, not just during the day, but at night and everything?
I think it's in their blood, and I believe that it goes back through history of carnage of what man has done when white man landed on these shores and came with disease and famine and everything else. I strongly believe that way back when that if you listen to the native stories, that there was trade between natives and the hairy man. I personally believe in that. And I believe when we landed on these shores and we came with weaponry and disease and everything else, that it pushed them away. And it's been in their bloodline for all these centuries to now stay away from that, stay away from those creatures being us, stay completely away from them, hidden at all costs, as best as you can, stay hidden as much as you possibly can. I believe that has been passed and it's in their blood, that they just automatically do it now.
Good answer. Good answer. You've always got good wisdom. Are y'all eating taffy?
Are you eating taffy?
Mm-hmm, go.
Oh gosh, what a host we got here.
Hey, look here. See this. Can you see these?
Yeah.
If y'all like sour candy, I'm telling you.
But I have always put them on a higher intelligence of any other known animal. I say other known animal because to me they are a known animal. To a lot of science, they are known animals. To a lot of science, it's not disagreed that they don't exist now. It's we need DNA. That's where a lot of science. That's where the science side of it. A lot of it is now. A lot of it is no. We recognize that there is a bipedal out there. We recognize this through history of lore and everything else, that it's not just lore anymore, that it is real because there's way too much evidence. We need DNA. And that's where the science side of it is now. We need the DNA.
You know, you're right about that, regardless of what they are. I mean, they've got to be way smarter than the average bear, or why does nobody have any real definitive proof that, I mean, like now they're coming out about the UFOs and all that. So,
right.
But yet, nothing, Sasquatch.
A lot of people are small-minded when they think, when they make the statement, well, how come one's never been found? How come nobody finds a body? When somebody makes a statement like that, you're thinking where you are, where you live, where you are, and your surrounding area. And I tell them, you have to launch yourself, 3,000 miles above the earth and look back down and look how vast the lower 48s are. And then look how vast, the Alaska and Canada that attach to us. Look at the world itself. Look at the uncharted land that is still out there. and then ask again why a body's never been found. You know, the questions that are being asked to us are really small-minded questions, because they're not able to pull themselves out and look at the greater picture. And then you have to put a percentage of what we believe. What is the percentage of Sasquatch out there? How many Sasquatch are out there really in the lower 48? How many, you know, are here? You know, and then you have to build off of that. And it is a low number. I believe that it truly is a low number. You know, what it is, I don't know, but I believe that it's a lower number. But people just need to look at the big picture, you know, when they ask questions like that.
I think that number, Eric, I think that number is going to astonish some people. I think maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's the internet, people coming out more now, or if maybe they've had a baby boom, let's say, if there's more of them now than they have been. I don't know, but it seems like, you know, I know the internet, people getting out here, and then these programs, even though some of these programs are goofy on television, but it's making people more acceptable to it. And that's kind of like with the UFO thing. Is this something the government's been doing for a long time? Well, we're going to have to work these people into it. We're going to have to work these people into it and get some of the shock off of it. Is that why all these Bigfoot programs and stuff has been aired now? I don't know. But I think that the population, I'm not saying there's, you know, every 50th tree in the forest, there's a Bigfoot behind it or even a track. But I think there's a lot more of them than people. I had one guy tell me that, and he was a researcher. He said, there's 12 of them. There's 12 of them in this national forest. I'm like, David, how do you know there's 12? Oh, well, there's 12. I've studied it. There's 12. It wouldn't surprise me if there ain't 150. I mean, you just like Daniel Boone, 2.1 million acres. You could have 500 over there, and your chances of seeing one would still be slim and none.
I've told people I can put you on 150 acres, and I can put 5 buck and 5 doe on that 150 acres. If they don't want to be seen, you ain't seeing them.
That's exactly right. Therefore, and you know, still, how many encounters nobody's ever talking about? You couldn't prize it out of them with a stick of dynamite. They're not going to tell nobody. How many sightings, encounters, and all that is not getting reported. Oh, I really believe, I mean, just me, honestly, sure, these things are not everywhere. I got that. But I think that there's probably a lot more than what people think, because there's still people that think that there's one of them and he's in Colorado or Wyoming or Oregon. You know, It's like, no, you got to have a breeding population, and these things are going to travel and move and swap up and this and that. I mean, I wouldn't doubt. I mean, I'm just going to throw a number out. I'm going to say just in the Southeast, there may be 5,000 of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now we have documented a print, and this was years back. We documented a print that was really when the bigger iPhones first came out, this size here, and it was the exact same size of this. So then we averaged this size to be about a 3-year-old, and human, it'd be about a 3-year-old, maybe a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So then we started thinking back. Okay, so let's go back months, let's go back years, and let's shorten this footprint every year to an infant. Now, when we did that, we then went into birth. Okay, so what's our opinion now on birth? If we take this small footprint and we shrink it every year or every other month, now we're looking at an infant stage. Where does that put us with birth? So Kane and I didn't really go start talking about this publicly until I think it was like about 2 years after we had found it and kind of did some, you know, hillbilly-ish off the wall math to it. But we figured, you know, November is around their birthing phase, versus, you know, the buck is going in a rut and all that jazz and other known animals. we put November as in that's when they're giving birth. So then if we hold 9 months like a human does, then, okay, let's back up 9 months. If they're giving birth in November, then let's back up 9 months from them and from there. And that's their, rut phase or whatever. That's, so a lot of this, is all the questions that are being asked are phenomenal questions. And these are what we're really going after. These are the questions that are being asked now within this group and people on the chat. These are the questions that we're going after. These are the ones that we're trying to chase now. Where Spencer was right the last show that I was on, he was like, we need to change our tactics, the sticks and the impressions and this and that and da-da-da. We need to change our tactics. And he's exactly right. And this is where Kane and I have spun with. Now we're looking at the energy side of things and the orbs and this and that. But now we're looking more at when is their birth phase? When do these things do birth? When do they move in and out of areas? When do they leave? When do they come back? These are the real core questions.
Yeah.
Well, more so than somebody posting a picture of a shadow in between trees and saying, hey, I think I see a face here and everything. Mm-hmm. You're not, the point being, you're not learning anything. The Patterson-Gimlin film is probably, in my opinion, the clearest video footage of what an actual booger looks like. Okay, beyond that, and I mean no disrespect by this, I really don't. But beyond that, people posting stuff on Facebook over and over again saying, this is a dog man, this is a Bigfoot, this is eye shine or whatnot. You're not learning anything from it. If it is a picture of eye shine, you're like, okay, it was taken in this area at this time of day, this time of year or whatever. You learn that there might be a booger there, but you're not learning how they move, how they interact, how they hunt, the way they communicate, what the stick structures mean. You're not learning that stuff. What Eric is talking about and what he and Kane kind of specialize in is trying to narrow down this field of like what this stuff actually means and how we can use it to isolate these things at a specific spot at a specific time of year and get some kind of interaction where we could learn something. Can you imagine what it would be like if you saw one building a stick structure? If they do that,
it would be massive. It would be huge. I mean, it would be huge. Think about that. The audio that I talked about at camp, the audio with the Sierra and what Debbie and what Debbie has and the sisters have, and the audio that Mark and Larry and I and Kane captured. Think about those three audios from three different parts of the United States, and I take this to a specialist, to an analyst, and he or she comes back, and they say, you have broken syllable in all three of these, and we have matched broken syllable from all three of these.
And if they came back and said, hey, this audio, this is part Cherokee and part Cree Indian, then you would really have something to go off of to actually like further this thing. My point is not trying to bust anybody's bubble, because I know what it's like to go out in the woods and look for tracks and stick structure and try to get smells and try to capture eye shine and look with thermal and all that stuff. I know that. But do you understand the magnitude of, like, if you got a piece of information like that was provable, where it was like, hey, this phrase that they're using right here is Cherokee and it means this. If you got one thing like that, how much further would we advance this subject from where it has been for the past 40, 50 years? And I think that realistically, we need to open up our minds to what's going on out there. All the people that think that they're great apes need to open up their minds to something, it's not just Gigantopithecus. All the people that think they're flesh and blood need to open up their minds to the possibility that there is something woo or supernatural going on here. Everybody that's thinking about woo, can you please think about, like, maybe there's a reason why we only find 2 or 3 tracks. Maybe they jump up on a tree, maybe they go to a spider crawl or something, and we're no longer looking for a foot track, but we're looking for smaller indentions. I'm just saying, people, we all have to come together. In my mind, we all have to come together and figure this out. This subject is at a precipice that it never has been before, where we are openly talking about this and getting more and more people to at least agree to the possibility of it. And we need to think outside the box. We need to try new stuff, or maybe old stuff, maybe really old stuff that we've forgotten about, like dowsing. I mean, that's something that I've seen several people say, dowsing is dealing with the rods. And it doesn't just work with water. Maybe it works with like energy or whatnot. I don't know. I don't know the answers, which is why we're getting so many people from various viewpoints on this show to talk about this stuff. If we do nothing else but open up everybody else's mind to the possibility that they have to start thinking about this a little bit different, we will go leaps and bounds, in my opinion.
Just think.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, that is what is so nice about our no, I'm not going to say group, but our friends that have all come together. Everybody has at one point had different opinions about what they thought it was. But getting with other people that you can trust to sit down and actually talk about this stuff, it's changed a lot of opinions for a lot of people, and opened a lot of doors for.
We are getting a wagon wheel of people from different perspectives to try and talk about this from their own point of view, without being like having this person over here say, no, that's wrong, or this person over here saying, no, that's wrong. We are trying to get everybody to come together and think about this as a collective, instead of being on, the woo team, or the flesh and blood team, or the Gigantopithecus team, or whatever. We're trying to get everybody to come together and offer opinions and everything. And if y'all will do this, if everybody in the Bigfoot field will do this, I truly believe we will make strides in this, because we're all going for the same thing. We have to get our egos and our opinions out of the way, and we have to be able to listen to other people. I mean, Eric has a ton of experience in Ohio. Greg has a ton of experience, and so does Mark Green in Alabama. I mean, we're crossing lines here, and we're trying to bring all of this into a composition that we can all get a piece of, get a grasp of, and we can all add everything together. That's my point. That's why we're doing this whole channel.
Well,
that should have been a mic drop right there.
No,
I can't. It's on a stand.
I agree 100% what you just said, Spencer.
Yeah, I agree too. And Spencer, just what I was going to add in, people that don't believe in the woo and it's all just this, or this. Think about years and years ago trying to explain to somebody about an electric eel or a chameleon lizard that's changing colors, whatever. He jumps on a blue shirt, the thing turns blue, jumps on a green shirt, turns green, jumps on a pink shirt, turns pink. Could you imagine trying to explain to somebody and tell them about a chameleon lizard or tell them, like I said, about electric eel. You reach down there and grab that eel in the water, it's going to light you up, probably knock you unconscious. It's just, there's things out there in this world that we can't explain, just like the supernatural, just like these boogers. You can't have a closed mind, and that's what's awesome about, like, all of us has came together, and like you said, it's like a wagon wheel. It's, that's the cool thing. I can have my opinion, you can have yours, and we don't have to argue about it. We can all push it toward the middle and discuss it and go over it. And if we don't agree, I'm okay with that. I mean, everybody don't have to agree with me.
If we push it to the middle and we try something that somebody suggests and it doesn't work, we move on to the next suggestion, next suggestion. Eventually, we're going to hit something innovative that figures this out, I think. Guys, right now we are on 2 hours. I need to get the other people back on here, except for Larry. Look, Larry's punk ass dropped off. He's completely gone now. Dang it, Larry. You always do this to me.
I can't see the bottom row.
Yes, and Debbie Jones was a no-show. You wait till I text her after the show. But anyway, I'm going to let Mark Newbill back on here, and everybody say your closing pieces so I can put up my email thing and try to get new people to reach out to me and everything. But let's wrap it up talking about Daniel Boone, if you would.
Well, if he's done gone, thank you, Larry, for coming on. By the way, I don't know where you went, but he's in the chat. He just left. I see him in the chat.
No, I love Daniel Boone. It's a great location. It's a great location for all of us. It's not really a hard drive for any of us. I think top 6 hours for somebody. For most of us, it's heck. The girls are what 3.5 hours.
I think it was about 3.
Yeah. So, and the top end is 6 hour drive. Daniel Boone is a perfect hub to do this. And really reach out there and try some stuff.
I know it was fun, and I'm so glad you got it together because I didn't want to leave. I told him, I said, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to take off, head up in the woods, and just stay, and y'all can't make me go. It was so peaceful there.
But anyways, I just wanted to jump out here and say hello to all you guys, and I had a great time on our trip, and I look forward to the next trip. So,
me too. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yep.
On and talked about it today with us.
Yep. So anyways, you guys take care.
You showed up. I didn't think you were going to come.
I got my yard work done, so yeah.
Glad you did. I got about half of it done.
Yeah. So anyways, you guys take care. We'll see you guys soon.
See you later.
Take care, man.
Yeah, my part of, I was overwhelmed to get the invite to come hang out with folks, and guys, we had a ball. I mean, I wish it could have worked out where we could have got there Thursday and stayed till Monday. But my boy had to get back to school, and he played hooky one day. But anyway, Al, he had to get back to work. Me working for me, I could have swung it where I could have stayed. But guys, we had fun. It was beautiful country. Enjoyed. I mean, just once again, the fellowship, being around like-minded people that's in the know. And people that's almost in the know, and y'all just sitting around, just the fellowship, just getting to sit around the fire. And I mean, y'all, I got there, cut my truck off Friday evening, didn't even get back in it, turned the switch on until Sunday when we were ready to leave. And we just had a ball. I mean, the food was awesome. My gosh, the bear meat. Spencer, of course, had me worried that bear meat was going to be horrible. I kept thinking in my head, somebody that knows how to cook it. And when I saw Miss Sherry, and when she whipped out that cornbread like my granny used to make, I thought, yep, if this bear meat ain't gonna be edible, bear meat ain't edible. But look here, that was as fine of meats I've ever eaten. It was great. Yep. So, but guys, we had a ball. I mean, we really did. Maybe we can we got to do something, have a little get together before too long. We keep bragging on our private get togethers. All these folks, it's our diehard folks over here in the chat, going to be wanting something they can come to.
Yeah, we need to try to get something like that set up and do something like what Mark and them had done with the meet and greet.
Yeah,
that'd be fun for everybody to try to get to come to.
yeah.
Eventually, we will try to do a meet and greet either on our own or with, Mark and Larry or whatnot. The question is always just the timing and the location and everything. Y'all got to understand, it's not that, we wouldn't like to meet you or anything. It's just, it's a big deal to put on a huge event like that. Mark, how many people came to that one meet and greet at LBL? Wasn't it close to 100?
At one time, it was a little bit over 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a big thing to orchestrate and get all the details right with and everything.
And the weather was awful, and everybody still had a good time.
That's nearly the point of y'all having to rent some type of community center and send it.
No, because then in the Bigfoot world, we'd be accused of putting on a seminar or whatnot. We don't want that.
No doubt.
Can you imagine me and Squirrel as being speakers?
I know. Look,
Got the blue tongue.
I just noticed when I was talking, I could see it. Look.
Well, that's what I was wondering a while ago. She's eating that. She showed that bag. I thought, how's that not making her mouth colored?
Those are so good.
Yeah,
I'll go talk to them. We should do that. We should put
you
on.
You and I should be on stage in front of 100 people talking to them. That's a great idea.
Fair game, though. I get to say anything I want to.
I got just one. I got to take just 1 minute, T. I got to give my story for me to end it on. When I was in high school, my senior year, we had a civics class, and every Friday the teacher would play a video like for 30 minutes. And there was this girl that sat next to me in the row next to me, was kind of at the back, and the teacher would turn the lights off. So I'm sitting there kind of like trying to go to sleep. And this girl beside me, the lights are off, and she's chewing on this ink pen, a regular old big pen. She's just like gnawing on it. Well, I'm sitting there about half asleep, and then I realized the lights come back on because the video had ended, and I probably had slept a little bit. But I like rouse up. I like hear something. I like look over, and I like look back, and this girl smiles at me. And that damn ink pen had busted at the end of that thing, and this black big pen had filled her mouth completely full of black ink. It was all out, about like my mustache, but all the way around her mouth was like this big, was solid black. Even her teeth was black. I look at her, and y'all, I'm trying not to laugh, so I just start like bouncing. I just fold my head over, and I'm just choking. And it's bad enough that my teacher goes, "Greg, what's wrong with you? Is there something you want to share with the class?" And I just went. My teacher like looks over at this girl, and she goes, "Oh my word, what's on your face?" And both I'm just bouncing and chuckling, and I can't breathe. And this girl like looks, and she's like looking behind her, like, who's the teacher talking to? And she calls her name. She said, "You got something all over your mouth." And that girl like does this, and her hands just like go black. And she looks at her hands. She jumps up and like squealing, running out to the bathroom. And y'all, she never did come back to class the rest of the day. I guess she had to just go on. But that big pen, that's what when I saw the squirrel's tongue, because the whole inside of the squirrel's mouth was black.
You didn't go after alcohol and a razor blade, did you?
No, I didn't on that one.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Ink off her face because she come back to school the following Monday, and it was normal. But oh my God, you talking embarrassed. She had ink everywhere, but she was just gnawing away on that thing in the dark. You know what? Was watching that TV at the front of the room. She had no idea. But I don't know. I've never like ate ink. I'm sure that stuff probably don't taste too good. You would have tasted it.
I live in fear of having an accident around Greg, and he's going to whip out a damn pocket knife and want to do surgery.
Oh, I got you. I done told you I ain't a witch doctor. Nope, I'm a hillbilly surgeon.
That ain't no better.
I believe he's got you.
Y'all, I really enjoyed it and really enjoyed meeting everybody and Daniel Boone is a beautiful place. Like Greg, it reminds me a lot of parts of our state of Alabama.
Yep.
A lot of people think of Alabama being a coastal state, which part of it is, but we still got the Appalachian too. And a lot of people, when they first come here, say, wow, I didn't realize it was mountainous. But really enjoyed the fellowship and the food. And me and Rebecca had a good time. Bradney and Ben, Bradney brought it up just about every night at work this week, how good a time he had. And
Cool.
that's the first time he'd ever really went out with a Bigfoot group. You know, he's been with me several times, but he's been down at Hollins, but he said this was, you know, he felt at home the whole time. And we did too. And we really enjoyed it. And appreciate the invite and look forward to the next time. And hopefully me and Greg can get y'all back down here in Alabama, either at Bankhead or Talladega National Forest or somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I've been talking to Sherry about it. I said we need to do 2 trips in one.
I've been talking to Twan about it. We got to go back to Alabama. Alabama is a hot zone. We got to go back there.
Just don't play our trick with theirs.
Sherry, you and Jim have a good time?
I had a blast. I think Jim.
Well, sure, I had a good time.
Good.
That's the whole thing about this group. Like everybody was talking earlier, everybody makes you feel at home, and every time we get to meet more people that we know that we haven't met in person.
Right.
And Eric and Kane, thank you for setting this up. You know, it's kind of starting this and getting it together, and we just, I don't know. It's like you're looking forward to the next one before the first one's over.
Yeah.
You know, we had a blast.
If you haven't ever camped with Eric and Kane, you're in for a treat.
I know. I wish Kanan came on today. I don't spit on myself. Drooling.
Yeah. But we definitely need to do a huge get together so everybody can come. I mean,
Y'all felt like we was going to family reunion.
Better than family reunion.
Yeah. It's same difference.
You like everybody here. You don't always like all your relatives.
New Bill, any closing words?
I just want to say I enjoyed myself, and it had been, I don't know, 8 or 9 months since I've been out with Kane and Eric, and so I'm just so glad they put this together, and I know your involvement with it, Spencer, and you were sorely missed.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you were.
Even though we poked fun at you, it just wasn't the same without you.
It wasn't. I had to pick on everybody else because you wasn't there.
Dang it! I feel sorry for everybody else.
Mark, tell Rebecca we missed her.
Yes.
I will tell her.
Yeah. I wish she could have been on here and shared her perspective of everything and whatnot. And please tell her my heartfelt sympathy that I wish I was there to have gotten that T-shirt. Misty got her dang T-shirt. I would have loved to have worn one.
Yep. You ain't seen it.
Yes. Show everybody your boobs again. Yes.
I got it
We will get yours out in the mail this week, Spencer. We will get it in the mail this week to you.
Oh, it's all good, brother. Hey, everybody, I got the email.
Time to get it, so he doesn't get one.
Shush. I got the email address down there at the bottom. Please, sincerely, if anybody has anything they want to talk about, if you want to talk privately, if you want to talk to one of us, you want me to put you in touch with somebody else, if you have anything that you want to talk about on the Bigfoot, or we can get off the Bigfoot thing and talk about hunting or barbecue or whatnot, or camp and bushcraft, all that kind of stuff, whatever. If you want to talk about guns, I'm good with that too. But anyway, feel free to email. Would like to have some more people getting on here, especially people that nobody's heard of. If you've had some kind of encounter and you think it was, you know, booger related or whatnot, let me know, man, or woman or whatever. And we'll talk about it and all that kind of, don't laugh. Like I got there for a second. And we'll go over it and everything. But for now, we got to bounce off here tonight, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good show next week and everything. And thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
See y'all.
Bye, y'all.
See you guys.
Swipe and steal.